For more on the developments coming out of Syria involving China, Russia, and Iran, I spoke to Dr. Mohammad Marandi. He's a professor at Tehran University. Here's what he had to say about the significance behind Russian bombers using an Iranian base for airstrikes in Syria.
Well, it is important, even though this is not completely new. Ever since the Russians were bombing al-Qaeda and ISIS positions in Syria, they have been flying over Iranian airspace, and they have landed at this particular airbase when they have had technical issues in the past. But this is important. It shows that the Iranians and the Russians are moving closer together in their Syria policy and in their fight against ISIS as well as al-Qaeda. And it does give an advantage over the Syrian Arab army because it allows the aircraft to reach their targets much more quickly and at a much less cost because much less fuel is used. So it works to the advantage of the government of Syria, of the army of Syria, and it is damaging to al-Qaeda affiliates, and other terrorist organizations and extremists in Syria.
Iran and Russia recently signed an agreement to cooperate, a military cooperation. Is this part of that new military cooperation, and does it mean we are going to see more Russian airstrikes with stops in Iran before going on to striking Syrian targets?
Well, I think that the Iranian-Russian cooperation has been expanding on all fronts. In fact, we also see a significant rise in trade relations between the two countries, especially since both countries have been sanctioned by the United States and the EU. And after Russia and Turkey broke off economic ties when the Turks shot down a Russian aircraft, this has created an incentive for all sorts of economic ties to be strengthened between Iran and Russia, and that, alongside with the political relationship as well as the military relationship, is evolving. Both countries have a shared interest in defeating the extremists that Saudi Arabia, the Wahhabi extremists that the Saudis, that the Turkish government and Western intelligence agencies have been promoting and supporting in Syria. And this itself is an incentive for the countries to move closer together. So when we look at it, actually, the policies of the United States, the Europeans, and Saudi Arabia and Turkey, they have helped a great deal in bringing Iran, Russia, as well as China, for that matter, closer to one another.
You bring up China, so let me ask you about China. We understand China has agreed to provide aid, enhance military training in Syria. Can you shed some light on what this exactly means? What kind of military training are we talking about?
Well, I think it has not yet been disclosed, but I think the symbolism is very important. China has been gradually moving towards a more distinctive policy in the region, and it is becoming clear that China is concerned about the rise of extremism, Wahhabism, which has been used by Saudi Arabia as a tool in this part of the world, as a threat to the stability of Central Asia, as well as Russia, China, and even Europe, as we've seen through the terrorist attacks over recent months. So China recognizes that in order for these terrorist forces that include Chinese nationals in Syria, in order for them to be defeated, the legitimate government in Syria and the current government in Damascus has to be strengthened. And so not only is what China now doing in Syria in accordance with international law, but it is also to the benefit and in the interest of Chinese sovereignty, as well as Central Asian stability, and which is necessary for the One Silk, One Road initiatives to succeed.
Professor Mohammad Marandi, we certainly appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.